So I know most of you have probably seen like videos of really good black belts sparring, like super nice flow sparring where they go slow and just flow between the techniques and usually people talk about this as that's something you're going to learn when you get really good and you're good enough to turn down your pace and you're good enough to control the technique so much and you have so much knowledge about the game. But I think that's wrong. I think this is something that everyone can learn as long as they have just a basic understanding of techniques and precision. They don't need to be very good, and they definitely don't need to be black belts to be able to do a really good slow roll. And I think the problem is that no one, at least I haven't seen anyone teach how to do it. And I think it's something that you need to learn in a class, and it takes a little time. It's not something that just, well, it will happen by itself, but you probably need to train 5, 6, 7, 8 years or something before it happens by itself. But if I think I can actually teach this and make people slow roll in a pretty short amount of time, and it's a very good tool both for the individual athlete and also for the team as a whole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the full progression of how I teach this, and there's a few drills that we're going to go through, and I'm going to show some examples, and then I'm going to talk about the rules of slow rolling, and in the end we're going to see how we can take these drills and actually turn it into real slow rolling. And I think this is possible for everyone from white to black belts to do this right, if they are actually taught how to do it. So let's start with looking at some slow rolling and talk a little bit about the benefits of this particular drill. So first of all, I think the biggest benefit of this is that if you have a team of practitioners and they aren't different, they're all different sizes. Maybe some of them are small and some of them are large, and you have maybe a few kids or women in there, and there's a big difference in skill and size of the athletes. Then I think the slow rolling drill is really beneficial because it really gives people the tool to turn up and down the intensity of the roll so that they can kind of meet their training partner halfway, no matter how big or small, no matter how big the difference in their size or skill is. And the other thing is that it's such a great tool for warming up, and you don't have to go hard from the first minute you step on the mat, and you don't have to do like a lot of boring running and stretching and all that stuff to get warm. You can basically just start rolling, and everybody should be able to roll with each other and get a good thorough warm up, and also work a bit on their technique. So I think it's one of the best jiu-jitsu tools for warming up when it's done right. That is, if you go too hard and you don't slow roll right, then it can cost you a few injuries or a little here and there, and that's not very nice. Another thing is if you're just injured or tired, and then maybe if you train on a very competitive team and everybody always goes hard, then it's maybe not that much fun to come in and roll if you're injured or you're tired. And if people know how to slow roll on your team, then you'll always be sure that when you come in to roll, there's always someone to roll with that can turn it down and give you a good sparring, and with no real risk of your injuries being a problem. So I think it's also a tool that allows you to train more if you're injured or maybe you're just tired or overtrained or what do I know. Another thing I think is very good about this is it really allows people to experiment more. I mean, if you always roll competitively, which of course has its time and place, and you should do that a lot. But if you only do that, then it can really quickly turn into like a role where you don't allow yourself to experiment with things or work on stuff that you're not as good at, because you just basically you can get into a mentality where you just don't want to lose, And if you don't want to lose, then you only work on whatever you're really good at, and then you don't experiment much. And I think one of the key factors for getting better at jiu-jitsu is to always try and implement things in your game. Doesn't necessarily have to be learn a lot of stuff, but which I actually think it shouldn't be, but instead just try to explore your game and try to evolve it, and work on some details in what you're already doing and stuff. And if you don't allow yourself to experiment, then I think your game can stall a lot, and you can have the same game for a very long time, and I don't think that's a very good thing. And also in that same area is when you slow roll, you can really drill specific situations without having to you have to fight to get there. Like if let's say you really want to work on setting up let's say attack from the back, and if you always roll competitively and your partner does as well, and then he'll never allow you to take the back without you really have to fight for it, then maybe in a evening of training, then you only get the back maybe once or twice because you really have to fight for it. But if you slow roll and he'll allow some experimenting, and you will do the same, and he'll open the game up a bit, maybe then you'll get the back more often, and you get to work on these techniques from there, or whatever other technique that could be relevant. Just the point is that this gives you the tools to work on whatever you're working on without having to fight hard to get there to work on it, and I think that's a very good thing. And also another thing is that if you have a really hard competitive training environment, then that is very good for those who are already good. Or, I mean, it will really help the good guys, because they get to get the hard training, and they get to evolve. But all the other guys, they just or girls or kids or whatever, they just get killed in sparring every day, and they don't get the same options to evolve their game and just play with jiu-jitsu. So I think if everybody knows how to slow roll well, then you'll have a team that will you'll lift this level as a whole, instead of just a few guys who will stand out. So and that in the end, of course, benefits everybody, because if you lift the team's level, then you'll have more sparring partners, and you have better sparring partners. So I think that's also a very good thing. And of course, unless you have a specific team for let's say a competition, and a specific team for those who just want to learn jiu-jitsu, then I think this tool of slow rolling can help you create a training environment which has room for everyone. Like for those who wants to go hard and those who doesn't want to go hard, and I think everybody can train and have really good sparring with each other, no matter what their difference in interest is. So of course the guys who want to go hard, they should go with each other, and the guys who just want to play around, they should go with each other. But of course everybody should train together. So whenever these two guys with different interests are sparring, then they can still have some really good technical training out of it, without one of them feeling like he's getting just completely raped by the other guy who only wants to go hard. So I think that's basically what I see as the biggest benefits of slow rolling, and there's probably more, and but I think you should just go discover that yourself. But basically these are the benefits of slow rolling, and let's go into some of the drills that how to actually acquire this skill. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to do a very simple drill, and the thing about this drill is the idea is that we want to take out the intensity and the speed of rolling completely. So it's going to be like an extreme version of slow rolling, but we need to use some of the elements to teach people a few things, and they can use this for when they do the real slow rolling. So first drill is a chest drill. It's pretty simple. The rules are that each guy can do one move each, and the other guy are not allowed to defend anything. And he can take as much time as he needs to think about it. So when he does his move, he can take 10 minutes to kind of think about how what his next move should be. You're not allowed to defend anything. So whenever the opponent does anything, you can only defend it when it's your turn. So that means if you catch a submission, then it's because you really trapped the other guy. It's not because you were fast or explosive or he was thinking too slow. It's because you really set him up. And it's a simple drill. It takes some time, but I think it's a very valuable. So we're gonna have Kari and Liam, my two ukis, do the drill, and we're just gonna start in the guard or whatever. So one of you start in the guard, and I'm gonna go through it. So Kari starts, and he can do one move, and he can take all the time in the world to think about what he wants to do. So he's going to try and make the best tactical move as well. Puts his knee up, Liam controls the sleeve, Kari controls the, stands up. And one thing that's very important is that this is by international gentleman rules. So what the definition of one move is something that you will have to agree on by gentleman terms. So if you're in doubt, you just have to kind of talk with your training partner and kind of make a decision if it was one move or two moves. Now Liam has the back, Kari turns away. And as you can see, this is a drill that you can spend a lot of time on, and the main purpose of this drill is to be able to think as much as possible about the best tactical move you can do in any given position. So when you roll normally, then maybe you have a split second to think about what the next move should be, and depending on your experience, then you make a good or a bad decision on what you should do. And in this drill, there's absolutely no reaction time involved, and also there's absolutely no physical strength or explosiveness involved. So the only way you can beat the guy is the only way you can win is by completely setting him up in a trap, which is very difficult in this drill. So it's not about winning at all. So I'm going to show a few more examples of this drill from class, and then talk a bit about that. Let's look at some more examples of this chest drill, and just briefly go through the rules of the drill again. It's pretty simple and easy to learn, so we'll just do it really quick. And number one is that whenever it's your turn, you can only do one move. So when you just go one move each, and the next thing is that the definition of one move can be a little difficult, but you'll have to agree on that by international gentleman rules. So you'll just have to kind of figure it out as you go along and just communicate about what is one move. Number three is there is no resistance involved, so you basically cannot defend anything when it's not your turn. So you'll have to wait to do the defense. But if the guy is doing something completely unrealistic, then you probably have to just talk about that. And the last thing is there is no time limit, so you can take as much time as you want doing your your move, and so if you need like 5 minutes to think about it, you can do that. Although it might be make the drill a little more boring, but basically you should just take your time to think about what your next move should be, what the best tactical move should be. Um, so as you can see, it's like an extreme version of rolling with no resistance and no timing involved at all, and I think that's beneficial for a lot of things. So let's look at a little at this video of people doing the chest drill, and then we'll move on to the next drill from there. Okay, so that was the first drill. That was the chest drill, and I saw this many years ago at a training camp in Portland, Oregon, I think, and I've done it ever since, now and then. And the next drill is another extreme of slow rolling, and the idea of this drill is to really try and think out of the box, and also to try and make. Some people have much difficulty with accepting doing something they don't know. Like when they roll, they play super safe because they're too afraid of failing or of getting tapped or swept or whatever. And I think for slow rolling it's very important to just loosen up the game and experiment a bit and try to go different ways than you would normally do. And this is a good drill for that. And it's an extreme, so this is not real slow rolling, and this is definitely not how you would roll normally, but it's just a way of forcing people to think in a certain way. So the rules of the drill are simple. It's the same as the chest drill, but there's a few additions. One is that you're not allowed to do any move that you already know, any position or anything that looks like anything you already know. So if you end in a position that maybe looks like mount, then you have to do 10 push-ups. Or just if it looks like a guard, you have to do 10 push-ups. So that's one thing. And the next thing is that whenever it's your turn, you have to find the least probable move that you would do. So let's say we start the drill just like before in the guard. Let's go. So Kari is in Liam's guard, and it's Kari's turn. And so he's about to do his first move, and what he would normally do would probably be something like grab the pants and sit in the guard trajectory. Let's say that's the most likely thing that he would do. So number two would maybe be try to stand up or whatever, and then in his head he's trying to make a list of the most likely, and then he's going to go all the way down to the least likely thing he would do, and it cannot in any way resemble something he already knows. So now he really has to force himself to think in a very, very different way. So let's go first move, figure something out. Yes, put the head under and grab. So I call this monkey drill because you just have to do really, really, really strange moves. And at this point in class, it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense to anyone doing it, but it makes sense later, and it develops some skills and a way to think that I think is very good for a slow roll. And here I always encourage people to be as creative as possible, so I want to see people do some very, very, very strange moves. And this is the monkey drill, and again I'm going to show some more examples from class and just talk a bit more about that. So here we're looking at the monkey drill, which is kind of a strange drill, and it will confuse people a lot in the beginning. I think there's a lot of benefits to this drill, which I'll just talk a bit about in a second. But first of all, let's just go through the rules of the drill. Again, it's basically the same as the chest drill, one move each turn, gentleman rules, no resistance, no time limit. But on top of that, you have two more rules, and one first one is you have to do the least likely move possible. So you have to do like the last thing you could ever think of doing in that certain situation you're in. And the other one is if you do something that actually looks like something you know, then you have to do 10 push-ups. And that's the rules of the game. And it makes absolutely no sense in the beginning, and but as people start doing it, I think this is one of the drills where you can really make people laugh in jiu-jitsu, because it just gets so ridiculous, and it's a lot of fun to do it. And if you have a class of one of the big classic problems with having someone slow roll is they're just too used to going hard, and they just only want to be bad guys who just want to beat up on everybody and just go hard and make everybody tap, and they just take training very seriously. And I think with this drill, then you can really kind of loosen people up, because you just can't help laughing and doing something stupid, and also it just really encouraged you to think out of the box and just do jiu-jitsu in a completely different way. And sometimes you'll actually come up with some strange move that will in some way transfer directly to sparring. I've done that myself quite a few times. But most importantly is that you just really loosen up and then allow yourself to move in a really strange way that you wouldn't do normally, and just completely think outside of the box of that you have to win, and you have to do the right thing every time, which is can be a really big. That's one of the bigger problems with when you try to slow roll. If you just let your ego take over and you don't want to experiment and have fun with it. So we with this drill we can just completely take the ego out of the equation, because you just cannot win, and you just cannot do something right or wrong. So that's very healthy for some people who has that problem in class. So I think this drill really can loosen people up, both their temper if they're too aggressive, and also like just their game. Just just get used to the thought of doing something completely different, and just remember, jiu-jitsu is fun, and you have to laugh and have fun with it. So I think this is a good drill, even though it's very strange. But let's look at some of it, and then just enjoy the very, very weird positions people end up in, and then we'll move on to the last part of this video.
Prøv at se, Tigger og Jan. Prøv at se, hvor nice den der cash wrestling. Pas nu på, Erik, at det ikke ligner noget, du kender.
Now we've looked at the two drills designed to help people understand slow rolling better. First the chest drill, and then the monkey drill. And after these drills, what I do is I want to go through the rules of slow rolling itself with the class. And I've set up 5 rules of slow rolling, which is should be kind of easy to remember, but as people progress in the slow rolling and they actually start doing it, I want to remind them of the rules all the time. So these are the 5 rules that you just really gotta get just remember and do, because that's what actually makes slow rolling possible. Of course, the chest drill and the monkey drill is not slow rolling itself, but it's just elements of slow rolling that we need in order to put it together and actually get real slow rolling out of it. So let's just go through the rules one at a time, and I'll explain a bit along the way. So rule number 1 is to always remember the purpose of the drill. And the purpose of the drill is I think the easiest way to define it is the purpose is to not win. if you say that, then people have to think in a different way. So the purpose of the drill is to not win, but it's also to have fun, experiment, warm up, and enjoy training. And that all goes down to you don't roll to win. So, and also with the rules of the game, you just can't win. So, but it's very important to remember the purpose of the drill, and as people in the beginning, when they start to slow roll and they actually do it, then I want to remind them along the way. So that's number one. Number two is I want everyone to turn down the speed and intensity, and that's a different part, because you can easily just tell people, okay, let's go light, and then they'll go light for 10 seconds, and then the ego takes over, and then that's it, and then you're just going hard again. So turning down speed and intensity is something that you have to drill, and the way you drill it is by doing the chest drill. I think that's very good for just learning how to turn down speed and intensity. You can't just tell people to do it. That it just won't work. So I think we've all tried that a lot of times, and then as the guys are getting more experienced in slow rolling, you can turn up the speed a bit, but the intensity should always be quite low in slow rolling. Now the third rule of slow rolling, I call that 50-50, and that's just an easy way of remembering it. So whenever people are slow rolling, I can always shout remember 50-50, and they'll kind of remember what it's all about. And the thing with this is that normally when you roll, I don't ever encourage people to kind of keep track of how many times they submitted anyone or swept anyone. I think that doesn't create a very good training environment where if people are like, every time they get a submission on someone, they go home and they put a sticker on their fridge, or what do I know. I think it's very important to not do that. But in this particular drill, this is the only time where you have to do it actually. So, and the thing is that when you slow roll, then sometimes it's very easy to feel like you're slow rolling, and it goes really nice and you just move around smoothly, but actually the other guy is just struggling to be a part of the game, and you're basically just setting the pace. And the thing is that if you go just a little harder than him and you don't allow him into the game, then he'll have to turn up the intensity just to be a part of the game, and then you'll turn up the intensity and he'll do the same again, and then you end up rolling hard. So I think what really helps here is to think about 50-50, and it's basically you want to keep track of just how much time have you spent being offensive, and how much time have you spent being defensive. So if you feel like you slow roll a lot and everything is nice, and you pass the guard and you go to the mount and you take a nice and easy submission or something, and you take the back, and then suddenly you think, hey, how much have my training partner actually done? And then you realize that you've been slow rolling and he's been really wanting to do it right, but just hasn't done anything. So in your mind, you have to keep track of trying to reach like a 50-50. So you do 50% offensive and he does 50% offensive. So if at some point you feel like you've been on top a little too much, then all you have to do is just let him sweep you, or and you'll be on bottom or something. And if you had like 3 submission attempts and he had nothing, then you should definitely let him take one, and then you know you're gonna get out anyways, because of the 4th rule, which I'm gonna explain in a second. So you really have to remember to divide the roles, so you both do equally much, and that helps a lot in just getting the flow and not and people don't have to turn up the intensity to roll, and then it ends up being competitive roll anyway. So you just keep track of who's done what, and then make sure that you try and do an equal amount of offensive and defensive both. And sometimes you can just, if you're on top a little bit and you feel like it's the other guy's turn, then you just do one move from the monkey drill, and then just see what happens, and then it'll probably shake up the roll a bit, and then something, and then he'll get on top or whatever. So that's a very, very important thing. That's the 50-50 rule. And the 4th rule is catch and release. So it's impossible to win by submission in this drill, because every time you get a submission and you're very much encouraged to take one, but you have to release it again. So whenever you get a submission, let's say an armbar, you have to let your partner just escape right away, or not right away, whenever he feels like. And as he escapes, the roll continues. So you cannot tap out. If you tap out in this drill, then you didn't get it right. So so catch and release, that's a very, very important part, because that'll also take the ego out a bit, because then you're not afraid to let the other guy get a submission, because that it won't hurt your ego, because there's no way you're gonna have to tap out anyway. So if you have ego problems, I think this is a very good rule for you. And and as people are rolling, I just remind them, catch and release. You can take submissions, and you should do it, and you should just let the other guy get out again, and then you know that eventually you will also be on top, and you will also I mean, eventually he'll also be on top and get a submission and attempt to set it up, and then you will escape. And it's also good for just practicing your plan Bs, because if you always just go for the tap, then you never know what happens if he can actually escape, and then you don't drill that. So that's another good thing. And the last rule is just the rule of communicating. You have to communicate with your partner, and if he goes too hard, if you feel like you're not a part of the game, then you have to tell him. There's no way he can just guess it. He can't read your mind. So you have to stop and tell him, and just say, hey man, I think you're going a little too hard. Let's turn it down a bit. And another thing I think is good for this communication drill is after each round of slow rolling, especially in the beginning, I want to have everyone just spend like 1 minute just talking to each other, how they felt the round went, and if you can, that's your time to tell the other guy he went too hard, or he did this good and he did this wrong. And if he did anything bad, then you should tell him. That's the way to go. There's no shame in that. So, because there is no ego involved, so he'll just have to do the drill right. And so that's it, the 5 rules. Always remember the purpose, turn down speed and intensity, 50-50, catch and release, and communicate. And if everybody knows these 5 rules and are reminded continuously during these drills, then I think that will allow everyone to learn how to slow roll. So those are the rules. Okay, so these were the 2 drills I do first, the chest drill and then the monkey drill, and then from there we talked a bit about the rules of the game, the rules of slow rolling, and the next thing, after people kind of did these things and understand the rules, then the next thing is to actually try and do the slow rolling. And what I do from here is, first of all, you put on some nice easy music that helps a bit to kind of loosen up the vibe of the class a bit, and then we start out with the chest roll. So we just start out really slow with the chest roll and just do 1 move each as slow as possible. And then from here, maybe you can think Liam has the first move, and his maybe he uses 10 seconds to before he decides his first move. And then it's Kari's turn, and he maybe uses 10 seconds, and that's the first pace of the roll. And then, as they've been doing this for a while, maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute, I tell the class, okay, the next thing is you have 5 seconds to think about the next move. So now they only have 5 seconds, and they're gonna try again to do it like a chest drill, but less time. And then gradually we decrease the time between the moves, and maybe now it's like 3 seconds, and they only have 3 seconds to move, and it should be more 1, 2, 3, and then less and less, and then at some point it's I tell them there's no time between the moves, so she can't be one blur. So that's what they try to do now. And as you can see, it looks more and more like slow rolling actually, and it's smooth technique. There's no real resistance. And if at some point I feel like they go a little too hard, or they start resisting, or they the ego starts to take over just a little bit, then I go back and tell them, okay, now you have 3 seconds between each move, and then it's move for move again. And then slowly, as they learn the drill, again I say, okay, let's try and just make it flow together. So there's no move for move, but it's just slow rolling. And if one guy is maybe much better than the other guy, then it's very important to encourage them to do some like let's say he's on top a bit too much, then I encourage him to do one crazy move from the monkey drill, and then just kind of loosen up the game and see what happens. So let's say Kari, I ask him now. I think he's dominating a little too much, so I'm asking him to just do one monkey move and see what happens. Yes. And now the drill continues. It kind of opens up the game a bit and gives the other guy a bit to work on. And that's it. And as you can see, now it turns into really nice and smooth slow rolling, which can be used for a lot of things. Okay, so that's what I do to teach slow rolling, and I think it's a very overlooked thing in training. I think it's something that, as I said, that people just talk about it as something that you learn when you get good enough, then it comes by itself, but it doesn't. And I think that it's really possible to teach almost anyone to do it. Of course, complete beginners, they don't really have anything to slow roll with. But if you train for like 6 months or something, then or even less, then I think you should definitely be able to do this. And there's so much value in this tool for training, and I think it's something that everybody should learn. And the last step, of course, is to try and implement the slow roll as a part of hard competitive rolling. So whenever people roll hard, I encourage them, if they are maybe a little better than the other guy, to try and go hard for maybe 1 minute, and then they take 15 seconds out where they try to go as slow as possible, or maybe just a little bit slow, and then go back to going hard. So they try and don't not just have competitive rolling here and slow rolling here, but they also have something in between. And that takes a while to learn, but I think again it's a very valuable tool to have in your game, especially if you have a class or a team that where everybody doesn't have the same level. So that's it. Yes, that's it for slow rolling. I hope that you can use some of the material and maybe even experiment a bit with it. Okay, thank you.